Okay, 8:30, time to call the March meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Bruce Paulson.
Here.
Frank Lindsay. Don Pettit.
Here.
Tom Duffy.
Here.
Stacy Hessel.
Please. All right, let the record show we have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God,
Indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, did we comply with open meeting law? Open meeting law.
Now, do you make the notice of the public if it's due as required by section 1924 of the Wisconsin statute?
Okay. The meeting agenda has been published. Any comments on the agenda? Okay. Public comments. We will entertain public comments at this time. Any member of the public or an item on the agenda? Go ahead, sir, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Linda Zilmer, 902 Holly Hill, property owner. And my comments now are partially about agenda items, and I don't wish to be recognized at that time, and some are not. Earlier this morning, I forwarded to committee members a graph from the Wisconsin Department of Revenue website that shows sales tax trends by industry from 2014 through the end of 2021. And I think that kind of information would be meaningful to this committee and maybe other committees, with getting new blood on board in both administrative and finance area. I think the trends are interesting in providing more guidance than the historical dollar amounts. Also, with regard to the formation of the ad hoc ARPA committee, I had thought, well, I understood February's discussion to mean that possibly ARPA ideas would be generated from committee meetings this month. And I hadn't seen that, but I still think that's a good idea from department heads up through committees going to an ad hoc committee. And for future agenda items, I would like to contribute to and then also have an agenda item for discussing room taxes as they provide a revenue to the county. And then finally, maybe a discussion item on legal fees. Since my name got mentioned in the Sire County Record article about the county's legal fees, I guess I've always been curious, and you probably know more than I do, but I'm not the client that was referenced. Some people have approached me thinking I was, but I do think it is meaningful that I've been going through some of these invoices that in 2020 alone, over $44,000 in legal fees were attributable to COVID-19. So, you know, to say that legal fees are a lot without understanding the underlying causes, I think an examination of that is meaningful. And over $19,000 was spent just on the MOU and the ground lease for the Birkebeiner building. So if you look at individual projects, that is something that may be planning going forward when the county takes on something, to anticipate those fees and just understand what they will be going forward. And I'm going back this afternoon to look at more legal invoices to try and put some costs around what has the Muni Code project has cost to date, because that's another significant one. And I think that requires more work before it's adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see the other. Mike, any member of the public online? No other comments from the public? Okay, next item of business is approval of the February minutes. Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the February Finance Committee minutes. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Is the treasurer online that want to talk, or is this just we'll get her for look at the graphs? Pardon me? Okay.
I am here. Good
All right.
morning.
Treasurer, do you want to say anything?
All I have is the graphs and those are attached. I'm not sure if anyone had a chance to review those before the meeting or not.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay, any questions or comments for the treasurer? Okay, thank you. Ambulance? Is this who's going to take that, Mike or Tom or?
Either one.
Well, I'll do it since it's my last chance to do something here. This came through public safety as we have started our implementation with LifeQuest, our new ambulance billing company. Part of what they have done for us is done a rate analysis, and they surveyed other entities that they service and that they have information on, and suggested new rates for us that passed in public safety to authorize the new suggested rates, which would give us additional revenue for those private pay and insurance type payments. The Medicare, Medicaid obviously still has to get paid at the lower rates, but it would allow us to capture a little bit more revenue.
Was there any discussion why we charge residents and non-residents the same?
There was discussion on that. The recommendation is to do it the same. Otherwise, you get into some legal issues on.
Okay, then you have
Certain
more
things.
legal fees. No, we don't want that.
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right, so any discussion or entertain a motion to approve this? Does this have to go to the county board?
Yeah, it is part of our rates that you, in our big revenue source book that you approve at the county
Right.
level during budget. So this
Right.
is kind of an amendment to that. So it should go to board for approval just to keep all that consistent.
Good. Yes,
Mr. Chairman, Mike, what will the budget impact be of increasing these rates? Is it gonna take effect immediately when we approve it next week, or what are your thoughts?
Yes, it's intended to take effect immediately. We are transitioning to LifeQuest and we're, when they hit the ground running, which is hopefully next week, we're hopefully going to implement the new rates at that same time. Budget impact, it's hard to say because it really depends on what is the mix of patients, clients between, are they private pay, self-pay, or Medicare, Medicaid pay. And it's really only going to help the county with those people that are either private pay or they have private insurance. They're the ones who will see the increase in revenues. To what that amount is, I don't know. I could make an estimate, but I haven't done that.
I think more significant is the revenue that we'll capture just by them doing a better job with the billing and the collections. I think they'll be far better at that than the previous company who didn't seem to be able to keep up to date.
yes.
Do you guys feel this new company is gonna work with Indian Health Service as far as, because I know a lot of the users of the Seward County ambulance are Native Americans that have either Indian Health Service or a form of insurance through the tribe.
I would believe so. I would hope so. The company we're going back to is the company we had previously. So there is some continuity there.
Okay.
I think we'll see.
Good.
All right. So we would need a motion to approve this fee schedule and pass it on to the county board. Would that go under county board of finance committee or public safety? I mean, which agenda would it be on?
It's probably public safety where it originated.
All right, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Been made. Is there a second?
I will.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the fee schedule as presented. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right. That covers all of the ambulance issue, correct?
Yes.
No more discussion on that. All right. Harper funding update. Ad hoc committee.
There was some discussion about forming an ad hoc committee to look into priorities of use of the ARPA funding. Also, since the last time we met, we've met with Clifton Larson Allen, who does consulting on ARPA funds as far as the reporting requirements. So like when we use ARPA funds for broadband companies or the housing authority, we've got to report on that use. And there's certain compliance things that go along with that. You know, these are federal dollars, so are they complying with the federal mandates and those sorts of things? So they help with the reporting of that, and we thought it was important to engage Clifton Larson Allen to help with not only the reporting, but the assignment of uses. If you want, if the ad hoc committee needs guidance or something, they can help with that. But with both Mike and I leaving, this would give you some continuity to make sure that that is followed up on properly. And the engagement, it's only if we use the service, we would pay an hourly fee, and that could also be reimbursed with ARPA dollars. So there'd be no direct taxpayer funding for that. So that's in line. We've got a meeting with them either today or tomorrow. We haven't set a time yet to finalize that, but that would be a helpful tool for you as well as you look for the remaining uses of those ARPA funds.
All right. Mr. Shu.
So this is a discussion and action maybe to develop an ad hoc committee to address this?
But that was your idea out of some
Yeah, I
board or
think-
committee.
Wasn't it?
County board, I thought.
Well, and then maybe it was discussed at the February Finance Committee. I thought there was a request to have this
There was.
item on the
There was.
agenda. Also, I mean, if you look at the agenda, it's pretty obvious with the building project that we're looking at being over budget on that project. And there's been some internal discussions about maybe ARPA money could fill some of that gap and to what extent. So a little hesitant to maybe jump into that ad hoc committee immediately until we kind of see what direction that's maybe going to go.
And then my other question, do you think we could wrap in the opioid settlement dollars where this ad hoc committee or even Clifton, I know, I'm not giving up on that, where I think we need to look into that, take a deeper dive into these opioid, what the allowable expenses will be and how we can use that money?
Certainly, the new administration will be doing that. It is, again, when we get into some of this building project discussion, there will be options discussed on the potential additional cost of the project. That's one of the options to consider, certainly.
Thank you.
How much uncommitted ARPA money do we have?
About 1.5, 1.6.
Okay.
Can we mention what's coming out of Health and Human Services?
Mhm.
So Health and Human Services met a few days ago, and there is going to likely be another ARPA request going to county board this time. We don't know the dollar amount at this time. It's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 for Senior Resource Center looking to purchase another transit bus.
Okay.
I think before you commit more of this money, we have to sit back and say, what's going to be the overall? So, whether we're a nibble away at this budget, that nothing left. It was it's half gone now.
Yeah.
And we're later look back and say, we should have
Right.
looked at this whole picture rather than, I
Right.
wonder, is there any way we look at what other counties have done? There must be.
Yeah, we do that. We talk with all other counties all the time. Keep in mind too, that when the interim rules came out, the only infrastructure type things you could do was basically broadband. And so, we did commit broadband funds initially. But now that the final rules are out and, the revenue loss calculation can encompass all of the ARPA funds, you can now use those ARPA funds for a much broader range of things, including more infrastructure other than broadband. So, had you committed to doing a process before the final rules came out, you would have limited yourself to things that are now open and able to use the funds for.
I'd like to see us put a freeze on spending any more of that until we have an overall view of where are we going. Or we're going to find ourselves with nothing left to spend.
Yeah.
So the discussion, I'm obviously missed last month's meeting, but is the idea to establish an ad hoc committee with a charge to recommend, bring forward recommendations on or priorities on spending ARPA funds.
That's what one.
Yeah.
That was the thought.
Yeah. That, and we were gonna, like Tom mentioned, we were gonna have some discussions with Clifton Larson Allen to see
Right.
what involvement or what they
Right.
can.
Why wouldn't we put a committee of the board together to do that?
Well, I can imagine if you threw this in front of the whole board, they're all night and.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I don't, what would the construct of the ad hoc committee be? 5 people selected from the board?
Right.
Okay. So 5 committee chairmen or there are duplicate committee chairmen. So what's the idea? Do we have an idea on how we would structure it and what the next steps would be? I mean, I've been advocating for this for a number of months.
Well, potentially, we might be able to answer that when we get to the next item on the agenda.
Okay, now, so we can defer discussion until we talk about the next item. Would that be okay? That cricket. Yes,
I don't have the board rules in front of me, but I think the board rules require the board chair to
right.
do an ad hoc committee. So it has to start at the board and then go back to the committee. It's kind of backwards, but I mean, it's potentially, it could be still done
Yeah.
this month at the board level.
I
if
would
that's the
welcome it
rule.
on next week's agenda for the
Right.
full county board to approve and the creation of an ad hoc committee to address
Okay,
the ARPA priorities. But you know, I'd also like to throw in the opioid, ARPA and opioid use.
And can you put a freeze on spending more of that money until we get that report back to the ad hoc committee? Otherwise, we're gonna be spending it. It would be the first ones make the request to get the money and
that's it.
some worthwhile cause is gonna come back and find you're too late. It's all gone.
Yeah. That's
Um,
gonna happen. Yes,
I would caution you on having another committee look at opioid uses, because I think, you know, with the programs that are needed to come out of criminal justice, that's the group of people that knows what the programs need to be for the drug court, for diversion, for treatment. And that's the group that I think should address the usage of those opioid funds, since that is by rules supposed to go towards those treatment programs and services. So, you know, why create another committee to look at something that another committee's already got going? I think the ARPA makes sense because you've got a broad range of things to look at and you can bring that back, but just my 2 cents.
yeah, no, and I think opioid, I mean, you should deal with the subject matter experts, and that would be my idea too. Okay, so let's defer discussion on the ad hoc committee then, and we'll talk about the next agenda item. Maybe come back and talk about the ad hoc committee. Okay, so any more comments on ARPA funding or anything?
We're gonna come back to that, yeah,
Right,
today.
yeah, Ms. Zellmer?
Thank you for recognizing me again and based on the discussion. It's looking like that this construction cost is going to exceed maybe what was planned. And I hope your closed session discussion would include borrowing for the amount and not using up ARPA funds, because to have those ARPA funds available for something else should be considered. So thank you.
Okay,
for
thank you.
the closed session.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion then to go into closed session. Okay, Mr. Duffy moves to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851A. Okay, Mr. Schuman, you're gonna stay here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, but motion's been made and to go into closed session, made and seconded. Do we need a
I'll
roll
second.
call on that?
Yes.
We do need a roll call.
Mr. Paulson,
Yes,
Mr. Kinsley,
Yes.
Ms. Pettit,
Yes.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Right.
We are now in
Aye.
session.
Oh, 1.6. Yeah.
Hmm?
You're gonna miss all this fun.
I am. I had my share of fun though, so. We had to hire a county administrator, it was a trial, we had to do all that stuff. Okay, so we're out of closed session. I guess I don't think there's any action this committee needs to take. I believe
Yes.
the conclusion was that, or is there any action this evening?
C needs action and
Oh, pardon me? I was thinking more on, going back to the ad hoc committee is what I was.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
And there's really no action this committee should take, but I believe the county board chair is going to recommend that we set up an ad hoc committee to look at setting priorities for funding sources of using of ARPA funds. And that is, I guess, is that okay, everybody, for where we are with the ad hoc committee? Okay,
Just a minute, please.
yeah,
Clarification, the 17th, the chair can ask to put together an ad hoc committee, it can get approved, and we come back to meet on the 31st. The committee can be approved.
Can it what be?
You could name the people for the committee on the 31st.
Well, I can name the people on the 17th.
right.
Okay.
I've
that's
already
why-
got
that's
them
why
in
I
mind.
want
I already have them
clarification.
in mind.
So I want a clarification for it.
Thank
Right.
you, Ron.
All right, so everybody's okay. Can we go on then to the awarding of the debt?
Yes.
We're looking at the $8 million resolution. Any,
I'll make a motion to.
okay, a motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution awarding the sale of the $8 million in bonds. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye. Okay, and then the authorizing general obligation bonds, the next item, I believe that is going to be postponed. Is that fair?
I believe so, to the special meeting,
Correct. Pardon me?
to the special meeting, yes.
Right, okay. All right. Anything else that we need to talk about coming before the committee? All
Is
right,
there anything we need
pardon me?
is there anything we need on the agenda for next month?
I don't think in regards to this. Is there the funding,
Pardon me?
the funding's in place, at least
Right.
8 million.
Right.
5 is gonna, we've got time. Bids will be signed. So I don't know specific to this project. I'm not aware.
Just thinking.
So I mean, we don't have to meet between now and the end of March, is that correct? 2 weeks.
Finance committee or the full board?
Finance committee, the full board is going to meet for a special session.
Right, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I just want to make sure we air it out here. Okay,
Right, because we should, I think Public Works will meet prior to that, right?
right.
So we can move it there. And then, Mr. Chairman, with this ad hoc committee that we're gonna create for the setting the priorities for the ARPA funding, would that be something that would be on the finances agenda next month? For like a report from the ad hoc committee?
Well, is it a finance committee function or is it a administration committee function? I mean, who's?
I would say it's more, I think finance is too limiting. I'd put it on admin
Okay.
or maybe even a committee of the board, ad hoc committee of the board.
What would you put this new ad hoc committee under? What committee?
either one. works.
Either one?
I would put it under finance and administrative if I was doing it, because it's talking about money.
We're talking about money.
Yeah, for sure, finance, I agree with that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
So the ad hoc committee is going to consider funding sources, which would mean the carbon as well as ARPA.
I would think that's the
Yeah.
charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that has to be approved by the board. And
Yeah, yeah.
Just the ad hoc committee, here's what their charge is.
Right, right.
All right, anything else, Joe, lady? Dawn, you have anything?
No, sir.
All right, well, hearing nothing else, we're adjourned.